This Civic Media podcast is sponsored by UW Organ and Tissue Donation. Organ donations are desperately needed, and now is the right time to become an organ donor. Talk to your family. Get the dot. Save lives. Go to heroicdeed.com.
And good evening, and welcome to another edition of the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. I'm Chad Holmes, joined for the first full episode with our winter expert. I'm going to give you the title expert, our expert commentator, former Newman Catholic High School head basketball coach on the boys' side, Jeff Gress.
That's a lot of pressure, especially since this is our, I know you like theme shows, so this is our Thanksgiving theme show with shout outs every hour.
There you go.
and every 10 minutes we tell what we're thankful for.
Exactly.
So gobble, you're up. Go ahead.
Quite a list there. Let's jump into girls high school basketball as we get away from the theme very, very quickly. Oh, real quickly, you threw me off. I was
get the guess.
I got to tell the folks who's on tonight. Coming up at 6:25, we'll be joined by Lauren Bullis, the new head girls basketball coach at DC Everest, off to a winning start. Doesn't get any better. Perfect record.
It's a good. You want to come on when things are rolling. It's always a good feeling.
First game as head coach, 1-0, 1-point win, and a very, very good start for the new head coach Lauren Bullis of DC Everest. We'll talk about their opening win at Appleton West. Talk about their season. Talk about their program. Talk about building a program with the Evergreen head coach, and then our student athlete guest coming up at 7:06 from Newman Catholic High School, junior Quincy Fender. Very interesting to talk to Quincy because obviously going through some adversity. Injured significantly in the opener of the football season, missed the rest of the year, missing the start of the boys basketball campaign, but hoping to get back after he had a very good season a year ago as a sophomore. So we'll talk to Quincy Fender coming up as well here on the Big High School Sports Show. But let's jump right in and talk about girls high school basketball. Let's start with the Wisconsin Valley Conference. You got all the teams have played. You got DC Everest at 1-0. These are all non-conference games. Stevens Point 1-1, Merrill and Wisconsin Rapids 1-2, Wausau East 0-1, Marshfield and Wausau West 0-2. Start off with DC Everest last Thursday in their only game. They defeated Appleton West 37-36. Everest trailed by 7 at halftime, 19-12. Then Everest outscored Appleton West 25-17 in the second half. Kirsten Hall 11 points, Grace Sandquist 7 for DCE. But for a program that struggled the last couple of years, always good to get off to a good start.
Yeah, that first win, when you take over a program and you're looking for that first W, that's always, sometimes it takes a while. And to get the first one off the gates kind of takes the monkey off your back, gets rid of a little pressure, and you can build. There's just a different excitement, I think, the sooner you can get that W because it brings the kids together, kind of showing that what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish, what we're instilling is the foundation of how that coach sees that program playing out. It gives it the validity it needs. So nice win. Also, I think to add to it is that comeback. Mm-hmm. Being down, you got to fight back. You claw into it. It just builds those tough work habits and creates that mentality you want where you just never quit.
Let's talk about the two Wausau schools next. East 0-1, West 0-2. Saw West on Friday. They fell to Neenah, always a very good basketball program, 81-33. Paige Anderson, 8. Iris Waldvogel, 7 for the Warriors. Rowan Klesmet, 29 for Neenah. And West lost last night to Eau Claire Memorial, 66-32. Ayla Christensen, 11. Paige Anderson, 10 for West. Big number in that game. You score 32 points. You turn it over 33 times. You just can't have that happen. And East struggled last night as well in their opener, falling to Gillett 52-12. There's been plenty of talk about numbers issues at Wausau East. really tough ways to start. And again, you want to get some positive feeling, I think, early in the season. But a couple of rather tough losses for West to begin, a tough loss for East. How do you look at that? I mean, obviously you want to build some confidence, but boy, those are a couple of starts that are difficult to build on, isn't it?
Well, I think, for West, I think you hit it on the head. They're going to go back and decide how we're going to devour and break down that turnover department. You just can't have that amount of turnovers and then look at how that reciprocates into you only scoring 32 points in that basketball game and giving up 66. It's a big difference. It kind of tells the turntail of that game. So, as a coach, when you're struggling to start, you don't get what you want out of it, you're going to jump in and break down those little moments of what you think you can do with the personnel that you have to fix it. And then you look at baby steps. It might not be on the scoreboard the next game. It might be something where you just did better in a area that you focused on in practice that you want to bring forth in the game. So again, a lot of season left, things to work on, build on, but those coaches are going to go and break things down and decide what they need to take as their next step. And for East, they lost a lot in the class that they had. That class that graduated last year for them was, built up, kind of took the program to a level of competition that East wanted, where they wanted to end up, where they were competitive in the Wisconsin Valley. And now it's difficult. Anybody, there's area programs around here working with numbers difficulties, and there's no good easy answer for that when you gotta, because you're working with the kids you got there, and that's what you have to do and what you have to improve with, and you got to make them understand what they need to do to accomplish to be the best version of themselves and create the most success they can.
Couple of teams perennial powers in the conference, Stevens Point and Marshfield. Smash 1-1, Marshfield 0-2. Stevens Point opened with a 50-37 win over Eau Claire Memorial, who had beat Wausau West last night. 31-16 edge for Stevens Point in the second half after they trailed at the intermission. Lindsey Weidler 23, Jada Seibert 15 for Stevens Point. And then also Monday they fell at home to Appleton North 72-59. Jada Seibert had 15 points, Lindsey Weidler and Ellie Strong 13, Leah Awi 11 for Smash. And for the Marshfield Tigers, returning head coach Heidi Michaels. She was very successful in her first stint, 16 years, but been away for 6 years. And they fell in a couple of non-conference games on the road. They lost their opener 57-49 to Eau Claire North. Zyda Kolbeck had 20, Mackenzie Holm 10 for Marshfield. And then last night they faced a very good Nina team, a very good Nina program, went on the road and fell 49-44. But I think, you look at these two programs, which are always expected to be at or near the top of the league, they're challenging themselves early. I think it's, again, you see how programs are at different levels early on before the conference. They may take a step or two, but they're going to use it to get better as the season goes on.
Yeah, that strength of non-conference schedule kind of shows how things might even play out if you had to make predictions of where everybody's going to end up in the conference right now and what we'll see in February, because it goes a long ways. I think going on the road, playing Neenah within 5 is a nice game for Marshfield. It doesn't show up in the record, but I think it strengthens your players, shows what your program is made of, and kind of gives you the necessary things that you're doing well on and what you want to work on. So, I don't take that as bad losses. For Spash, I know we talked off air a little bit with the Appleton North game that Soybert, one of their better players you mentioned, was in foul trouble. That changes the course of that game. It maybe dictates how she has to be on and off the court, and could either, for lack thereof, get that scoring punch that they need to do to get that game a little tighter. So again, I think that's why you're going to see these two teams at the top as they start getting into interconference play. You might hit on it, but Rapids, I think, will be the surprise one. But go ahead.
Yeah, and I thought we'd finish up with the other conference teams. You got Wisconsin Rapids, who's 1-2. Merrill is 1-2. And is there anybody I'm missing there? I think that's it. So Rapids and Merrill, both 1-2. The Blue Jays got their first win last night, 82-51 against Ashland. They had fell to Lena, 75-31 on Friday. And Wisconsin Rapids has been traveling around early on as well in their early season matchups, and last night they lost a tight one to Reedsburg, 55-52, but I think you're right in terms of what we've seen so far this season. Another team that has challenged themselves on the road is Wisconsin Rapids, and for Merrill, they had a couple of really tough losses to begin things, and I know that they're trying to put a few pieces together to get some positive reinforcement, put up 82 points after not scoring a lot in the first two games. It has to be something that they feel good about.
Yeah, so going with Rapids, you look in their scoring department on the on the sports site, and they're putting up some numbers. They got a couple girls that are scoring in double digit, which helps early on, and they're challenging themselves against Nina, beating Toma. Reedsburg is a tight one, so I think that they got Menasha when I come back after the break. So I think some good things where they could be that team that kind of can they get Spash, could get Marshfield and giving it, make things exciting in the conference. For Merrill, like you said, it's you just keep building, you just keep going. They lost Maya, which was a big chunk of a lot of things that she did on the floor, not only from her scoring punch but the leadership and the defense and everything else she brought that kind of held them together. And so, looking to bounce back when those score discrepancy, there's a wide range. They give up 71, give up 75, and then score 82. Mm-hmm. You're still trying to find your identity a little bit and what you got. And they're a team in that conference that wants to kind of be a sleeper too, going forward, talking to Coach when he comes in and listens.
4-10 overall, though, for the Wisconsin Valley Conference so far. That's, again, something that I think they want to improve as we continue. Great Northern Conference, you got Mosinee at 2-0, Tomahawk 1-0, Lakeland 2-1. Everybody in the GNC's won at least one game. Northern Pines, Rhinelander, Medford, and Antigo are all 1-1, so no winless teams very early, all non-conference games. Mosinee off to a very good start, and they defeated Shawano last night, 58-46. Taylor Jershely, 27 points. Addison Henrik, 13 for Mosinee. They will be facing a road game that we'll talk about later on at Lakeland to start off their conference campaign. Lakeland, as we mentioned last week, went and played a tournament in the southern part of the state. They won their opener 64-54 against Westosha Central. Friday, Christina Wamet 33, Ava Evenhouse 17, and then on Saturday they learned some lessons, and I think that's why they're again doing this. 65-45 they fell to Waunakee, but Mosinee and Lakeland, I think, going into the campaign are the two teams to really keep a close eye on.
Yeah, and for Lakeland, I give them credit. I mean, you go out and you challenge yourself, and you're playing these good teams, and in that schedule, depending on consistency and how teams do, you can move around and make things happen. And I think with that loss to Waunakee, you can learn just as much about your team that you want to learn. And it's sometimes good to be, those things, no matter how you slice them, are going to humble you. And you're going to figure out you're going to want things more because you know what those girls want. Wamet's been there coaching for years. She has her daughter on. They want to finish out things strong with this class. And for Mosinee, they're going to be one of those other ones that challenge for that conference. And for them, it's going to be consistency. And I love the fact that we got a great conference game right out of the gates after Thanksgiving, too.
Merriwood South on the girls' side. Thanks to the Merriwood, because we get some conference activity to start talking about. And these teams have already played quite a bit of conference activity. You got Assumption 2-0. 2-0 overall, 2-0 in the conference. You got Auburndale, 1-0 in the conference, 2-0 overall. Stratford, 1-0 in the conference, 2-0 overall. Marathon is 0-1 in the conference, 1-1 overall. Edgar 0-1 in the conference, 0-2 overall. Newman Catholic 0-2, and both those losses were in conference play. But you look at Assumption, I think very obviously the preseason favorite with the amount of production and experience they have back. They defeated Newman 67-22, a game that we had here on WXCO last Thursday night. Jordan Jaglinski, 22 points. Addie Vollert, 15 for Assumption. Aubrey Pent had 11 for the Cards in that game. And then Assumption was dominant again last night, 70-10 over Edgar. But it's hard to see right now, I think, Assumption getting a lot of heat in the conference, at least early on, until some of these teams are able maybe to establish a little bit of more experience. Yeah,
I'm curious about, they'll see Auburndale on December 10th, and that's kind of the one I'm looking to see where everybody stands. If you look at some scores, they put up some comparable scores against comparable opponents, but for Assumption, it's one thing to get that conference and get that title, but as you go farther into the playoffs, it's that non-conference schedule, I think, that pushes you a little bit to see what else is out there. So it'll be interesting to see who they scored, because the first couple games they were able to easily control it, but early on paper, I think they're out ahead, with Auburndale kind of waiting in the wings, and we'll see what Stratford has. They have a couple kids putting up some nice point totals right now, too.
Yeah, and Stratford beat Marathon 60-50 last night, and Auburndale defeated Newman Catholic 65-15. And I thought, even, losing by 10 for Marathon. I think that's a team that's going to be better. I saw them in their first opener. They're playing very intense defense, and the fact that they were able to put 50 up, I do think that they're going to start growing a little bit into their game. I think if there's a team that has the potential of maybe taking those steps to kind of work their way in the battle in the middle to try to move to near the upper tier of the conference, it may be Jeff Schneider's team.
Oh yeah, and Coach Schneider's he's done it long enough where he's seen everything, done everything, knows how to get the most out of his kids. So I think that going forward, they can definitely be a team that can creep in there, surprise some people. That 60-50 is a score that can be reflective of a team that can creep up on some people. So maybe they're not going to win the conference, I wouldn't think, but they can at least go out there and challenge these top teams and set a mark where you're getting back. Because the deeper the conference can be, the better that competition is, the more interesting it becomes every night.
Marywood North, Phillips, and Rib Lake are off to 2-0 starts in the conference. Phillips 2-0 overall, Rib Lake 2-1. Athens and Prentice are 1-1 in the conference. Shawamigan and Abbotsford 0-2. Phillips has been the team in recent years. They've had some really good talent go through up north, and Phillips defeated Prentice on Thursday night in their league opener, 58-45, and then they backed it up with a 77-32 win against Shawamigan last night. You have Rib Lake defeating Athens last night, 69-35. That kind of jumped out. Athens has been a pretty decent program in recent years, and they had also beat Shawamigan. Rib Lake did 72-23. So I don't think it's going to be a role for Phillips. I do think this Rib Lake program, Addison Gums, I've seen that name. She had 16 in their opener. Tessa Week 14 for Rib Lake, but Phillips has been perennially that team to beat in the Marywood North.
And I think with a little graduation, they had the two girls that were putting up points, and it's a lot harder to guard two than one, and now they still have the one back. So I think that'll even things out a little bit, but it looks like Rib Lake is getting comparable scores to what Phillips is, so it'll be interesting pace to see when they finally have that game who can kind of separate themselves, and then the other teams obviously below. Athens will, I think, be down a little bit due to graduation. They had a pretty good class last year. That was well balanced for that squad.
And I think they have a new coach as well, so that's always an adjustment early in the season. CWC North, interesting. There's only 5 teams in the CWC North. You got Marion Tigerton 3-0 overall, Gresham 1-2, Bowler and Northern Lutheran 0-2, and White Lake is yet to play their first game. Northern Lutheran last Thursday fell to Spencer 63-25, and then as well on Monday they lost to Rosholt 66-41. Marion Tigerton beat Port Edwards on Friday 50-30, and then got past Tri-County 38-32. I think, again, when you look at schools, and we've talked about this with Northern Lutheran, so often they're so much better within the conference because, again, a very small school. And, again, the challenge of numbers, they've taken a couple of early shots in the non-conference, but until they start conference, it's hard to judge.
Right, and then you look back at players' point totals, and they're not real high, which you're like, well, then they're lack of scoring, but they're playing some teams that might not be comparable yet because, you see schedules like this where they go out of conference, it's a little tougher, they play in conference. Things are comparable in terms of student population and how the teams break down, things like that. So, again, probably not going to hurt them in a toughness factor of learning how to survive, learning how to adjust to different situations, and learning what weaknesses are that they want to change into their strengths. But taking some lumps early just because they got to get back into their conference schedule.
In the CWC East, Wittenberg-Burnhamwood, I think, again, is going to be a team that's going to be talked about throughout much of the season. And last night, did not see the individual scores, but the team score was pretty darn impressive. Yeah. They defeated Antigo 96-20. They're the only team in the CWC East that's undefeated. They're 2-0. You got Iola Scandinavia, Manawa, and Bonduella 2-1. Shiocton and Wyowega Fremont 1-1. Amherst 1-2. Menominee Indian 0-2. I think the two teams that I want to kind of touch on here in this segment is Wittenberg-Burnhamwood. They got the experience. They got the talent. I think they got a lot going for them. But Amherst, in 2 of their 3 games, the 2 losses, they have had a hard time putting the ball in the hole. Amherst lost early to Auburndale, I think it was. Was it Auburndale?
Yeah, I think that was. Yep, yeah, there's a big discrepancy in that score.
Yep, and then in their last game, Amherst again got rolled pretty bad. That's been a program that has been pretty good, and if they're down, that kind of opens it up, I think, for Wittenberg-Burnhamwood.
Yeah, I mean, not other than the tradition and what Amherst has and the reflection of the Auburndale score, not knowing too much about them, I think Wittenberg.
And last night, real quickly,
Go ahead.
Amherst only put up 19 points in the game against Brilliant, 48-19. So, that kind of jumped out to me.
Yeah, well, and I think Wittenberg's going to, they go outright, stand on their own. They're putting 68 in the first win and 96 last night, and they have what you want is two scores that take the pressure off each other. So I just think it's a mess when you got multiple scores like that. Come at us, try to shut one down. What are you going to play? One's going to get hot, the other, is going to get the assists, or vice versa. However, they're playing into each other, and between Selvason and Grand Quest, they're going to have the numbers. They had them last year, and I can't remember if they were both sophomore. I don't know what their grade level, but I don't even know if they're both seniors. I'd like to think not. And then they're going to start jumping in against Manawa on December 3rd. So I think they're just going to be the team to watch, and another team when we are at playoff time talking that they're going to be existing and seeing how far they can get.
It just seems like when in a conference where, when you see normal teams that are kind of always there, when one of those teams does hit maybe a little dip, and again, maybe Amherst will bounce back, but it does open things up when a perennial team like Amherst that usually is up near the top of that conference does have some difficulties. And again, they've scored under 20 points in 2 of their first 3 games, and that's kind of a red flag when you're not able to put it in the hole.
I know they go back and forth with Bondwell a little bit too, and I was curious. I don't know if that one loss is a conference loss for Bondwell or not, but that
they're all non-conference in that conference.
Gotcha.
So exactly.
But another team that can hang around if Bondwell starts or Wittenberg beats them twice. Yeah. They own the conference.
And actually, Bondwell was the team last year that was a thorn in the side of Wittenberg, Burnhamwood, and they athletically have been so good in so many different areas in recent years.
So you get those games. If Wittenberg gets those games, it's their conference.
And the thing about those games as well, though, is if you don't get them, there's not many chances for those other teams to help you out later on either.
Right.
But that's a look at what's been going on in girls high school basketball. We'll look ahead to the future in the next hour. We'll talk about what's going on in boys high school basketball. Limited amount last night, coming up a little bit later on as well. We'll also talk about the early part of the hockey season, as got our first hockey broadcast last night as well. But coming up next, it will be our coach guest for this week. From DC Everest, first-year head coach, off to a 1-0 start. We'll talk to Lauren Bullis coming up next. With Jeff Gress, I'm Chad Holmes. It is the Big High School Sports Show, brought to you by K5 Construction, a family-owned and operated custom builder in central Wisconsin that stands out from the rest for its commitment to quality and excellence. From design and planning to final construction, K5 Construction delivers superior results on every project. Coach Lauren Bullis of DC Everest, coming up next here on 98.9 WXCO.
Hello, Wausonians. It's Ryan and Paul from the Wausau Business Show.
Hello.
We are on PTO this week. Much deserved for you, Paul.
Thank you. I've earned it.
We're back with a brand new episode of the Wausau Business Show next week, next Saturday. Coming up, a lot of Wausau business rumors. A lot of stuff going on with Carmelo's and State Park Speedway, Paul.
Wow, yeah, a lot going on.
In the meantime, your holiday Christmas party at work is going to be great as long as it's in Wausau, Wisconsin, USA.
All right.
We'll see you next time on the Wausau Business Show.
Just a little bit.
Local radio thrives when it serves the community. WXCO is no different, and we're looking to add someone to our staff that is well connected around town. Someone who can help our local businesses increase traffic and their visibility among our audience. From connecting clients with high school sports, local news and weather, or the Chad Holmes Show. If you know local business owners, we'd like to get to know you. If you'd like to know more about this opportunity, send me, Chad Holmes, a message at chad.holmes@civicmedia.us. That's chad.holmes@civicmedia.us. And let's set up a time to talk.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction here on 98.9 WXCO. Again, coming up at 7:06 will be our student athlete guest for this week. Newman Catholic High School boys basketball and football junior Quincy Fender will be with us. But right now it's time for our coach guest for this week, our first winter sports guest of the year. And from DC Everest, head girls basketball coach in her first season, Lauren Bullis. And Coach, thank you for coming on over.
Thanks for having me.
I guess we'll start with the first game of the season, since we can talk about the entire season in one fell swoop here. You went on the road and earned a 1-point win at Appleton West last week. As we were talking about in the last segment, you were down, I think, by 7 points at halftime, able to come back and earn the W. Being your first game, being the brand new head coach at DC Everest, trying to build something that's been a very good basketball program over the years. Mm-hmm. I imagine that winning by one is so much better than losing by one.
They always say it's better to win ugly than lose ugly, so that's for sure.
What happened in that basketball game? What jumped out in the first game? What did it feel like for you being the head coach for the first time?
It was exciting. Just that moment being on the sideline, getting to be in control, seeing what your kids are made of. I mean, these kids haven't won since January 30th. So we get down, I think, 19-11 at half, and their pressure is tight. And I'm just thinking, how do we come out and respond? This isn't what you see in the Valley. First game of the year. These kids aren't used to being in a tight game. So how are we going to be resilient? How are we going to overcome adversity? And, I mean, we came out, we ran some pretty great offense, scored on our first possession, and it kind of set the tone a little bit for us. They did exactly what I talked about at halftime about needing to hit the screens in our offense and finding a way to get the ball into the post and score, and we did. And I think it kind of gave us some life, like, all right, we can make a comeback and we can do this. And to their credit, they competed until the final horn, and that's what we needed.
Mm-hmm. And how big a deal is it, just not only maybe from a coaching standpoint, and we just talked off air about it, but also for to get that first win and kind of get it out of the way is not the right way to say it, but you want it so you can keep building that foundation and solidifying the pillars that you feel are needed for success. I mean, I think it just snowballs the right way, mm-hmm. and then to do it in the fashion where you can't predict it because you don't want it that way. You'd rather just come out, own the game, finish it off, be done with it, go to the next one, and do the same thing again. But you had to come from behind. You had to fight, and you pulled up for a point. So it's on pins and needles. I'm sure everybody and the kids mm-hmm. want it, and you want it for them. How just the excitement, the emotions. How was that? And how important is that?
I mean, I was so proud of the kids. I went to the locker room. I had tears of joy. Like I told you, they haven't won in so long. I wanted it for them. And then it just solidifies how hard they've been working and buying in to me. That's the biggest piece of being the winner of that game versus the loser, is that it's like, all right, you regroup, you get to practice the next day, and okay, it's not that we didn't believe in what she was saying, but here's proof that the direction we're going is the right direction. And if we keep buying into this, hopefully we can continue to have some success.
Winning is a habit. And as you said, this group, the last couple of years, have not had a lot of winning. Mm-hmm. And I imagine that's just as important as well, to frankly learn how to win.
And the group that I have, these 10 kids, if you break it down, I have 5 seniors. One of them had an ACL injury last year, so didn't see any minutes. The other one was on JV as a junior. Everybody else, I mean, there was some quality time for realistically 3 kids. I have 3 returners that saw substantial minutes, and the rest of my kids played JV and some varsity. So now you're talking some of these kids scoring their first varsity points. I mean, the first big moment, just listening, focusing, locking in to finish out the game. That's what I had talked about in film the next day, is I said, I don't think you guys realize how huge that win was, just in the standpoint of, here's where you were last year, here's the team you were on last year, and what it actually takes and means to finish that game with such a lack of experience.
And what are some of the, early on, I think there's so many things that when you take over a program, whether you got to get what you want instilled, you got to keep some things that might be okay, and then you got to formulate those connections and those ways you want to work with the girls. There's just so much going on, and it's just and it's sometimes not as instantaneous, and you got to work through all that. What are some of the big things that you want to see, whether it's in terms of style of play or how they operate, or things you're just trying to get, like, these are what we need to have in order to be a successful program based on your measurement?
Yeah, for us to be successful, like one thing we focused on is we have to be better on the defensive end. We can't give up as many points as we did last year because we don't have yet the capability to outscore that amount of points. So we have to be better on the defensive end. We've spent a lot of time working, competing, learning what it means to compete. I always tell the kids, I know you're tired, but everybody's tired. But are you competing? There's a difference. And right now I'm trying to get them to learn what that difference is. And, one of my leaders came off the floor last Thursday and she was like, well, we don't see this in practice. I was like, yes, that's what I'm saying. We aren't on the ball. We aren't in the gaps. This intensity is not what we bring yet. And I'm glad you can see that because that's what we need to work towards. And again, just getting them to buy into all the little things that I want to do. I want to be more aggressive. We've started to press. Any opportunity that we can turn somebody over and not have to go 84 feet to score, that's to our advantage. So just trying to be the aggressor and not sit back this year, that's something that we're going to focus heavily on for sure.
Again, we're talking to Lauren Bullis, the head girls basketball coach at DC Everest here on the Big High School Sports Show. You know what DC Everest girls basketball's been, you as well as anybody. It's been a really great tradition. I mean, frankly, I went to Everest a long time ago, and back in the 80s, and it was a great girls basketball program. Got a coach up in Lakeland that was a year ahead of me, who was doing pretty great things back then. But it was even through then, Paul Alexson and everybody else that's gone through just not that long ago. Matt Bullis standing on the sidelines at the state championship game. How does that connection help you with the job you have now? Because this DC Everest girls basketball program has a lot of work to do, I think, based on what we've seen the last couple of years. But how does your background help you with the job ahead?
Well, I mean, being an alum, number one, I care about this program more than I can probably put into words. But it also then allows me to bring back some of the roots of what it's been. There's some staples. If you're a coach in this area, you've probably had a lob play thrown against you a time or two, and everybody's done it. And just bringing back some of those things that I got to be a part of. I've been on this sideline before, twice as an assistant in 2 different years, and so I don't know how to explain like the meaning it has to me to just have those connections, rely on those connections. You can't do it alone. Obviously, in my household, I have a former head coach to lean on for support.
Lean on or get second guessed?
No, not at all. He's been phenomenal. I use things that he's taken from other people and that he's used in the past, and just bringing back again, like I said, some of those things that have been through the program that you don't have to reinvent the wheel all the time. Sometimes you can go back to what has worked, and that's what I've done, and it paid off in our first game anyway.
How and I know you look at all different conference makeups and things like that. In the Valley, both boys and girls side is always strong on a lot of non-conference right away, and then that conference, because we're always talking about it when we get into conference play, when we get to see them mix it up. You want to see that duking it out for that top spot. Did you first off, when you took was the schedule kind of solidified, or did you get a say in it? And do you like that? Do you like having these games that maybe aren't as pressure? I don't know. They are pressure packed, but they might not be, because you get to see what you're made of, and you can learn a lot as much as wins and losses. So do you like the current setup? Is there stuff you changed? Did you get a lot of say in your schedule?
So the schedule was set, but I don't hate the start to our schedule. We have non-conference games that aren't huge into our sectional, so it feels like there's not a lot of pressure. The kids have time to get into my system, continue to get into that from the summer. So I like the non-conference start to things. We didn't play until the 21st. We had like 10 good days of practice before we were getting into something. We scrimmaged after 5 days. I felt like the start of our year was timed out pretty well based on our schedule. So even though it was set and I didn't have a say in it, I like the way that we had some chance and time to build and work on us before having to meet competition.
Let's look at your team. You mentioned the fact there's not a lot of experience on the varsity level. One name that jumps out, I think, is Kirsten Hall, who had 11 points in your season opener. We've seen her before. It's a last name that scored a lot of points at DC Everest with the Hall boys in the past. But I guess starting with her, but also generally, who are some of the girls that you're looking at, especially early, for leadership, both in terms of what's going on between the lines and maybe even outside the lines?
I have some great leaders at all levels. My 3 returning kids with the most experience starts with Kurt. Obviously looking for her to continue to be a leading scorer for us, but she also does a lot of things right. She's probably my highest basketball IQ kid, and you can see that when we talk through things in practice and she asks questions and she's like, but yeah, like, let's learn, let's teach everybody else the things that you're seeing and bring everybody along. She can rebound. I need her to take care of the basketball this year. You know, she has to handle it a little bit, but she has the capability to play, honestly, the 1 through 5 position if I need it, and the intelligence then behind it to do it as well. Kelsey Woolley, she's another kid that comes back that's played a lot of minutes. I just need her to be vocal and be a quality leader on the floor and get us set. Right now, I'm looking for who's going to step up and say, here's what we're in. If I don't like it, I'll change it. That's what I always tell them. But everybody on the floor needs to be on the same page. So somebody call something out, and I need that to be her. And behind that, McKenna's entering her sophomore year. She started as a freshman. Ilsa, who got some minutes early on last year as a freshman, kind of faded out. Now she's in a starting role this year. And then Ella, the 3rd sophomore to round out that group, really, like, that group with my seniors, that's where I need so much growth to continue. The seniors are great leaders. My kid that's coming off an ACL, Grace, like, great vocal leader on the floor. Seniors do a good job of being that. And now it's like I need my sophomore group to take that, okay, last year I was a freshman, maybe I was a role kid. Now how do I build? How do I continue to learn the game, score some points? I mean, I just named off a lot of kids. There's nobody that's going to go out and just put up 30 for us in a night and we're going to be okay to ride behind that. We got to play inside out and get some of our post kids to score some points and then have some guards knock down some shots from the outside for us to be successful. So, you know, I would love for 3-4 kids to put up some good quality numbers each night, and it doesn't need to be the same 3-4. We can spread the love. Somebody get hot. I'm all right with that.
Is it ever hard to, going forward, what you've seen in practice already? Because you got a different nucleus. You got, as much as you got a couple of older kids, you got a pretty youthful team also. And I always found with that youth that you wanted to kind of like shake them and say, you're on borrowed time just as much as everybody else, because they're like, hey, I'm a sophomore. I got 3 years left. This is just fun. And it's like, no, let's get going right now, because the other kids in front of you deserve that, as well as before you know it, you're going to be graduating. You bat the eye and the seasons are going to be over. So do you ever find that there's that extra nurturing, there's extra, as well as extra patience and just a plan of action that you have to have set with working with that mixture of kids with seniors and sophomores there?
I think it's patience, and there's that dynamic of, all right, well, McKenna's also my daughter. Yeah. So sometimes taking a deep breath, because when I watch through a lens, it's a coaching lens, but it's also a parent lens. And it's like, all right, you know, you can't just focus and get on her. She's still young. She's still learning. She's still growing. But collectively, those 3 kids, you know, I've coached them in the past. I've spent time around them. So sometimes I lose a little bit of that patience because I've been with them so much. My expectations are higher, but it's because I know what they're capable of. So then reining myself back in. However, I'm surrounded by a really great coaching staff, and they will keep me level. And that's one thing I've asked of them, you know, like, especially when you put the parent hat on. Okay, if I'm too hard, is it coaching, or is it because I'm on her because, you know, I want her to excel and I'm fixating on the things that she's doing? So just trying to balance all of that while also still being a new young coach. I credit having good people around me to balance all of that out and make sure that we are making the best choices for our team.
What about your conference? I I made a statement earlier. They're 4-10 so far. And I would say that there's a lot of question marks. I would say that there could actually be opportunities as well. I mean, I think for teams, there's a chance for growth. It's also it's an interesting conference with yourself, and then you got at Stevens Point, Janelle being a former player there, who's come back to her alma mater, trying to build that up. You got Heidi Michaels back after a 6-year sabbatical over at Marshfield. I think you got question marks at West and East right now, off to a pretty tough starts. You got Merrill trying to replace folks. I think right now this conference has the potential of looking much different when you get to January and February, because I do think there's going to be teams that grow and others that may not. I mean, I just think there's opportunity, but there's also just a lot of questions. Is that how you look at it too?
Yeah, I mean, we haven't talked about last year at all. Like, that's in the rearview mirror. We're moving forward. We haven't spoken about what happened in conference. I'm sure people have a question mark around us. New coach, then they get their first win. What are we to expect? Where are they going to finish? They lose every game last year in the conference. Are they an underdog? Which is exciting. I love that mentality. I want us to be thought of as an underdog. And then I look around and I think, man, yeah, Heidi's back. How can Marshfield not do good things with that? Rapids, they return a whole bunch of kids. How does Mitch not have success with that? West, you always have athletes. What are they going to do? Spash, you're coached by a WNBA player of the past. Obviously she knows what she's doing. She's got some young talent. Where does that place us come January, February? I don't know. Middle of the road? Better than that? I mean, I'm not sure. It is a question mark. I don't know right now if anyone knows what to expect. I didn't even look at predictions. I have no idea where people predicted us to finish because, frankly, like I said, I don't care. Consider us the underdog. I love that.
Never listen to people.
Yeah.
People don't know what they're talking about.
How about I love, because you go back and when if you get to set up your conference your non-conference schedule, sometimes it's an argument like coaches like we need rest, or some teams have ways of doing it this way. We're not playing till after Thanksgiving. Some teams like we're going and taking a break during Christmas. Other teams are like, we're going into these tournaments. We're going to stay fresh. I like the idea of playing over Thanksgiving if you can, and getting some more teams and getting into something that, the pressure might be off in terms of what conference play is, but we still get a chance to get better. We still get a chance to not let our skills go dormant, and we're continuing to work together, especially when you got a young team and a new program you're trying to instill. Perfect world against Rhinelander and Crandon. What do you want to see out of your team? And you're like, this, scratch the wins or losses, but this looks good. What do we want to see out of them when they come to play this weekend?
We got to take care of the ball. That has to be our focus. Rhinelander going to put some pressure on us. Last year they sat in a zone. I anticipate probably going to sit in a zone because our MO isn't that we're going to knock down shots. So can we take care of the ball and just get through the press, get into the half court, and get set? Make a read. Are they in man? Are they in zone? Can my leaders get us set into what we need to run offensively? And then when we're open, can we knock down shots? Then you go into night two. Back-to-back's hard, especially when I said I have 10 kids on my bench right now of where do you find fresh legs? That's a lot of logged minutes. Yeah. Well, Crandon's probably sitting in a 2-3 zone. So now do you have the legs beneath you to knock down shots in night two against that zone? They got some young kids, but they got some athletes. So the biggest keys are just going to be, can we compete the entire night in back-to-back nights? And then when we have opportunities, can we take care of the ball? Can we knock down those shots? Can we make the right decisions and make the right reads? if we can do those things and we can stop Auburn Clark, I feel pretty good about our chances.
How much work generally within the program? Because we're talking a lot about the varsity, but part of the job is obviously you got to have youth programs and try to make sure that you got girls that are coming through and are going to be ready for varsity basketball over the next number of years. Where is Everest right now in terms of girls that are, at the lower levels? Do you feel comfortable that you have the buy-in for a lot of kids that want to be part of this program, not just now, but in the future?
I think so. And with my job, I teach at the middle school. So right now, I get to see the kids in 6th and 7th grade and build relationships in the classroom with them in that regard. And I think that's going to help me in the future because then, 2 years later, they're in 9th grade. And so if I can start there, continue to develop kids, now they get to come back and be a part of a program, continue to get to know me in the basketball world, that's really great. So my job, I think, is going to impact all of that. But we get enough kids out that we have travel teams at every level from 3rd and 4th through 8th grade, and we have to find a way to compete and keep kids out. Dance, soccer, softball. It's not easy. So how can I be around without exhausting myself, but have my face there and show them that no matter what age they are, I also still support their growth in the game of basketball. So, we had a rec league, tried to be there. My varsity kids officiated. So here's my role models. Just trying to tie everything together. Because like you said, these kids are the future of my program. So I have to choose to invest in them as much as I invest in the kids that I'm in front of, every day for basically these 4 months. They're just as important because they're the future. They're the next step. And if I want to build and do the things that I want to do, then I got to make sure everybody at that level is also coaching and building to have those kids set for when they come to me.
One more question.
Lastly, I know, correct me if I'm wrong, done a lot of coaching at the AAU level too, right? How much does... I think it keeps you fresh, but there's obviously a transition in the difference of the games. AAUs, you can kind of select who you need, and kids come in with a little bit higher skill level, and you got to back it off a little bit with what you're dealing with. These are the kids in our high school that are coming to play. Big transition from that, not too bad. Things you can take and leave with it.
Obviously the game of basketball is the game of basketball at the end of the day. You hit it on the head, though. The kids that play AAU are obviously the kids who love the game of basketball, and they want more reps, and they want to continue to play. Then you step into the high school world, and in the setting that I'm currently in, I don't have a ton of basketball first kids. So it's different in that regard of there's a lot more teaching of the game. X's and O's. What do we need to know? Like, how do you make this read? And part of my kids not being basketball first is where one of our weaknesses of making great decisions comes into play because we're not there yet. So you have to break everything down and teach them all of that. And also within your expectations of what you want out of it as well. So, like I said, the game's the game, but where I'm at right now, the difference is there's just a lot more little things that have to be taught and focus on the discipline, and then you need the reps. My kids have to get reps, and they have to do the reps correctly to create good habits at this point.
Lauren Bullis, first-year head coach of the DC Everest Evergreens on the girls' basketball side. Congrats on the start. Good luck up in Rhinelander this weekend, and best of luck throughout the season.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
We're going to take a quick time out and be right back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO.
On Friday night, the new season opens up for the Wausau West hockey team. The Warriors travel to Eau Claire to take on Memorial in the semifinals of the Memorial Meltdown Tournament. Hear all the exciting action live on 98.9 WXCO, online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app, starting with the pregame show at 6:20 and the opening face-off at 6:30. Wausau West Hockey on 98.9 WXCO is brought to you by the Cloverbell Credit Union, Red Robin Restaurants, Sun Printing, the Wausau West Athletic Department, Coast to Coast Marketing, and the Wausau West Hockey Booster Club. It's Wausau West at Eau Claire Memorial and High School Hockey. Friday, starting with the pregame show at 6:20, opening face-off at 6:30 on 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM. Mobile devices and Alexa by searching WXCO and on the Civic Media app.
Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO with Jeff Gress. I'm Chad Holmes. Very interesting. Again, I think when you start a new job, especially with Everest is a very interesting girls basketball program because you have all that success not that long ago, but the last 2 years have been very difficult. And it's obviously, I think that's having somebody that knows DC Everest basketball, I think is pretty significant.
Well, I think there's always a big deal when you can have, an alumni that had success there and just the background with the Bullis family being a big part of Everest girls basketball in different ways. I think it goes a long ways. I think the connections that need to be made, how the overall structure of the program has to be. And I appreciate the picture she painted of what's got to grow, what's being done, how we're feeling, that emotional edge that you don't get to see on a piece of paper, or you don't get to know through a scoreboard. So it's kind of nice to see what they're trying to instill. And I think she painted it well that there's some question marks. We're going to see what we're made of. We're going to take it game by game. So I thought good things shared.
We only got a couple of minutes before we have our top of the hour news update before the second hour of the show. But the first night of boys basketball last night, not a lot of action around Central Wisconsin. Only one Wisconsin Valley Conference team was in action. Wisconsin Rapids lost to Eau Claire North 73-58. A couple of teams from the Merriwood North were in action. Rib Lake lost to Columbus Catholic 53-37. Spencer over Shawamigan 65-60. And again, a few teams not really in our area in the CWC East. So obviously, really get going this weekend. I mean, Wisconsin Rapids losing. I don't know if that meant anything to you. Obviously, Eau Claire North always a pretty solid program.
Yeah, it's that same old adage where they want to get some playoff push because that's when they're scheduling these non-conference games for when that gets all thrown in the mix in February. So challenge themselves in that non-conference schedule. I don't know if it says much yet. We got to get deeper into it, see what these teams are doing over this weekend for teams that, is it, again, the old argument, is it better to lie dormant or is it better to play a Thanksgiving tournament? So.
And also to play back-to-backs real early. I mean, is that good early when you're starting your season with back-to-backs?
Yeah, I liked I like getting a game in on the first day you could possibly play. Get that game in because maybe there's one of those tournament teams you're going to see that don't have the game in and it gives you the advantage. And then then you get another practice in to fix some things and prepare for the next teams. You get some shoot-arounds in before those. And I like that back-to-back because if you're planning on going farther in the playoffs, it gives you that commitment level that, hey guys, this is kind of going to give us a feel of what we're at. We can predict a little bit into the playoff realm that this is what we're going to see. Are we going to be ready for this? What do we have to tweak before that to play a handful of games right away in February and times like that?
Better to play a Thanksgiving tournament or a Christmas tournament?
I like to do both. We did both sometimes. I think probably Thanksgiving. Christmas has that long dragged out break. It's just more time off. So I think it's just better to play because you're also seeing a lot of teams that might not be a Thanksgiving tournament. It just might be one game. And it's a good time to get it in, especially when if you can get it at home, drag your alumni in, get a competition that you're not going to see in your conference, get a different type of team, whether you go to a different direction of the state or you bring them in. I think it's a big deal, but I say play Thanksgiving and Christmas.
And Newman's at the West Turkey Shoot. Did you like that tournament?
Yes, and I missed it when we were out of it, so I always enjoyed being part of that.
So we'll look forward to that. We'll talk about some of the action coming up this weekend a little bit later in the program. Coming up to start off the second hour, Quincy Fender.
You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
And welcome back. It's hour number 2, the Big High School Sports Show, presented by K5 Construction. K5 Construction, a family-owned and operated custom builder in central Wisconsin that stands out from the rest for its commitment to quality and excellence. From design and planning to the final construction, K5 Construction delivers superior results on every project. With former Newman Catholic head boys basketball coach Jeff Gress, I am Chad Holmes, and to start off the second hour, we always bring in our student-athlete guest for this week. And this week, it's a guy that can kind of, I think, be a good bridge between the fall and the winter sports, because he's part of both the fall sports in football and the winter sports in boys basketball. Quincy Fender. And Quincy, thanks for coming on over.
Thank you.
I know it's a night before Thanksgiving, and it's not always easy to come on over, and do appreciate it. Been better to talk about a full football season than going into the opener of basketball on Friday night, but you started off your football season with a terrific first half in your Cardinal season opener, and then suffered a serious injury. Can you tell the folks out there who may not be familiar exactly what happened to you in the third quarter of that season opening football game?
Yeah, so basically I ran outside, so it was like 3rd and 8, and it was an outside run. I cut it outside, was running out of bounds, got pushed out of bounds, all the weight went into my right foot, and then basically I just heard like a crack and went down right away, but it dislocated.
So
it just
dislocated ankle?
Yeah.
That's not fun.
No.
Before I let Jeff get in here, then obviously your season came to a very quick end. I mean, you're so excited. You had moved to quarterback this season after being a receiver, and had, again, first half, really played outstanding football. Everything was going really well. What are the emotions in a situation like that when you know that your season comes to an end so quickly?
I mean, what I was saying before the season, obviously, it's like no one plans for an injury, and obviously in the moment I'm going down, the ambulance is coming on the field. It's just all the emotions are coming into play. I know my season's going to be done, focusing on obviously what my teammates can do. It's just the mental game that not a lot of people talk about.
And what makes it difficult, I think, is that's one of the tragedies of high school sports, is seeing these guys that work their tail off, put all this time and effort in, and things can be changed so quickly. And how do we deal with it? And getting to coach the middle school football team, I got to watch a lot of you and your friends that you got dinged up and guys that got hurt. And I was always so impressed by the efforts that you guys still put in. I mean, it's not fun sitting there at practice when you can't participate. It's not easy sitting in a game where you're like, I could go do this and I want to help out this way, and there's my buddies and I want to be with them. And it just changes the dynamic. So I gave you guys a lot of credit. Every day, you guys riding in the John Deere back and forth to where you got to go, and being part of that. I think that says a lot about character, how much the sports mean to you, and the bond you feel with your teammates, classmates, friends. How we always talk about how hard the process was. How is it going to make you better in the long run? Because there's good to come out of it too, I think.
Yeah, so at first, obviously, my emotions were, when am I going to come back? Like, I'm going to miss so much. But then I just focused on changing my mindset towards what can I do to help the team. So, it really helped develop my leadership skills overall, trying to help the players know what they're doing, help Coach Micklig in whatever way I can. Like, it just helped me develop those characteristics over time.
How has the rehab been? Because obviously then the first thing is, well, I want to get back and play basketball, because you had such a terrific sophomore season on the hardwood last year. What has the process been in terms of rehabilitation?
Yeah, so basically I started with a cast for 4 weeks, and then I went to a boot for 2 weeks. And then out of the boot, I went to physical therapy with Marshfield, and then went to another training center. So I was training 4 days a week, doing my ankle and then conditioning. So when I come back, I'm going to be ready to play a full game. And just focusing. So I did that training 4 days a week, Marshfield 1 day a week. And then right out of the boot, I just wanted to get straight to it and just get us back as soon as I could.
What's the prospect been for you so far in practice? Because I got to imagine, I know you well enough where it's on the go and I want to move, and don't make me sit there longer than I have to. And people look at you like, slow down. Don't, they want you to be as perfect in your rehab and everything as you can. But what's it been for you like in practice? How has that changed from day one till now with being on the verge of being able to get back on the court?
Yeah, for basketball, obviously, when I was in the boot, I was just sitting there for the open gyms, watching everyone scrimmage. And now I can do everything except contact. So all the shooting drills, all of the individual drills, I can do all of those. And then when the team scrimmages, I help the coaches and then go do a shooting workout on the side. And I go to the Y a lot, do the shooting workout. So basically, when I come back, I'm going to be ready to go.
Again, we're talking to Quincy Fender from Newman Catholic High School, junior for the Fighting Cardinals, getting ready for the start of the boys' basketball season here on 98.9 WXCO. Before we talk about, the idea is for you to get back on the court very, very soon. Let's talk a little bit about last season, because obviously it was such a big change for Newman. You had such a large senior class that obviously accomplished the ultimate in terms of winning a state championship. And then it was you and a bunch of other guys that had been around as young, as a freshman, being around it. Last season, what was that like going into the season where basically all the production was gone and everybody had to step in into new roles and for somebody like yourself provide a lot of offensive production? What was that journey like a season ago in basketball?
I mean, it was hectic at first, obviously, as all the seniors graduated. I mean, we came from no varsity production. So I came in, just started knowing that I had to be a leader to help the team. And obviously we knew it was going to be a learning year. We knew the record. I mean, we weren't worried about the record at the time. We were worried about learning for the next season and season after and that stuff, trying to develop all the guys. So, I mean, I was just working really hard to get everyone to know the offense, get everyone to work as hard as they can, show max effort. And over that time last year, that helped us develop into what I think we can do this year.
And leading into this year, I mean, again, being part of Newman with my job and stuff and knowing you as well as I do, just saw a lot of work in the offseason. I mean, you guys put in a lot of hours. And for you, you're a little bit of a unique situation where you switched, you had success as a receiver and you got to slide to quarterback because it's what the team needs and making that a go of. Then you have the injury, which changes that a little bit. But your off season, you worked exceptionally hard on things to become better both on the football field and onto the basketball court also. Expectations for this year. What do you want to see out of your team? What do you think you guys need to do to be successful as you start off this Thanksgiving tournament right away and then jump into your conference play?
I mean, all we're really worried about is just making sure everyone is focused. I believe if everyone is focused at practice, in the games, I mean, the record, I think we'll have a good record. I just want to have a shot at conference. We want to be up there. Obviously we didn't 2-14 in the conference, something like that last year. We want to be up there. We want to be up in the top rankings for the Merriwood.
And how about for your individual game? I mean, you put a lot of time in. I know you play AAU, you're basketball a lot of times. What did you, from the off season till now, really try to develop to make your game accelerate better so that it makes your team better too?
Yeah, I tried to almost develop my shot creating, just creating in general, playmaking, because I believe last year we didn't have enough guys scoring. So my goal was to set up more open shots by getting the defenders to go on me and swinging the ball out. And I think that elevated a lot to this year. So I'm hoping I can use that to get a lot of the other teammates ready to score.
When you look at your conference, and it's always one of the best conferences in the state for the lower divisions, I mean, it's always just loaded. I mean, it's been, in fact, a couple of years ago, Newman won the state championship, did not win the conference championship, and I think in some ways it's more difficult during the regular season than when you guys do get to the playoffs because you play schools that are in higher divisions. I guess, first of all, who's your favorite opponent? What are the games that maybe that you really love to play within your league because there's so many big ones?
I'm going to say, speaking on last year, I want to say that game would be Prentice because we went into Prentice not having a good record. Team morale was down, and we went into Prentice, played our best game, actually won in overtime, and they were a good team at the time. So, I mean, obviously those games with Marathon, Stratford, Auburndale, I mean, those are always going to be tough, but we like playing those. We like playing those opponents because that's going to toughen us up when we go in the playoffs.
And frankly, Prentice is a good answer because, those guys that ultimately won a state championship, they let one slip away because Prentice came into Newman and won a playoff game a few years back. So that actually, I would think that Newman always would love to take on Prentice and beat him.
And how, I know you were younger at the time, you were only a freshman, but how important was it to be part of that? At the end of people's careers, most people don't get to say they get to, there's people that don't get to do that. They don't get to be part of that. And you guys have obviously had parts of it where the football success and the basketball success and having your older brother on that team and being such a big part of that and watching his successes. How has that helped you?
I mean, basically, obviously, we won the state title my freshman year in football and basketball. And playing with my brother was just so special because obviously I've been going against him my whole life, one-on-ones outside almost every day. And just being on the same court as him and all those guys I've been just like playing up against outside, it's just been so fun. And in practice, when I go against, obviously we had the varsity 5, and then I would be on the defensive end guarding them, trying to help them. I mean, that just helped me so much, learning and getting the experience.
Who is the toughest guard in those practices for you?
I mean,
have so many good ones.
I'm gonna say it. I would say Mason, just because he's so skilled. Jackson was pretty easy because I knew his game.
That was a harder question than I think you probably wanted to have.
Yeah.
We know that you play football, you play basketball. Are you involved in any spring sports?
Yeah, I did track. These past 2 years. I'm still thinking about either doing track or baseball. Obviously, we didn't have a baseball team last year, and obviously we want a baseball team at Newman. Everyone does want that. So I think it's important to have that team, so if I have to play, I will. But I'm maybe thinking about doing both track and baseball.
What's your favorite class?
I'm going to say anatomy with Mrs. Gasper.
You're obviously very busy, and as Jeff said, even in the off season, there's always something going on. I mean, I can only imagine what the summers are like, because last summer I know that you were trying to pick up being a quarterback, but then you have all the basketball that's going on and everything else. How do you go about trying to put all you have 24 hours in a day. You only have so much time. How do you try to manage your time? How do you try to make sure that you accomplish everything that you want to, whether it's through sports, whether it's through school, whether it's through just being able to have your friends and your family and have the fun parts of it? Anything that you try to do special to make sure that you are able to parcel out the time as well as possible?
I really focus on my mindset, knowing, obviously, motivation, just knowing that I only get to do this one time. I'm only going to be in high school one time, high school sports one time. So I always just try and think about that and get as much as I can in, through the day. And I always try and make it positive by hanging out with my friends during it. Because when I'm doing stuff by myself to get better, that's fun. But when I'm getting better with my friends, that's just helping everyone. And it's we all get better when we work together.
And this weekend, you guys, after Thanksgiving here, you guys open up in that West tournament, and you got Madison East, and then you got however the games play out, you could have Northland Pines or West. You're going to sit there and get to see it from a little different angle for at least this weekend. Yeah. But, being, the self-learner I know you are, and the constant analyzer you want to be to make yourself better, make your team better, what's a measure of something you want to see out of your teammates a little bit that we can say we can build off that for when we jump back against Merrill after Thanksgiving break?
I just want to see everyone just go full speed every play. At full speed every play. Everyone showing max effort. People like Michael stepping up, people like Dame stepping up, Coop stepping up, just to show that they can play varsity minutes and they're not scared to be out there. Obviously, we know Piff, Griff, Erdy, all those guys are going to play well, but I'm excited to see what they can do.
I know you're not going to be able to play this weekend, but at the same time, you played last year. What does this tournament mean? What does it mean to go across the street and play at Wausau West? Is it something that you guys really look forward to? Is it something that you look at as a great opportunity?
Yeah, we all look forward to it. Everyone looks forward to their first game of the year, and to have it be at West, it's really special. That Thanksgiving tournament. Obviously, in my freshman year, when we went there and we beat Pines, Isaac hit a buzzer beater to beat it. That was always fun. And then just every year we look forward to going and playing those teams.
We usually ask one of the final questions. We usually ask this is mostly with seniors, so you're not in that same realm of thinking, I think, because you're only a junior, but what you tell to some younger players coming through the system. I'd like to ask it this way, because I think I would like to think a significant injury makes you appreciate that. You already talked about it. I can tell from the tone of your voice you appreciate everything you got, but I think it makes you appreciate it more. So what would you want to share with a player that to tell them to make the most of it, because you don't know what you're going to miss out on and what time you have left?
I mean, that's exactly what I would tell them. I would just say, I mean, you never know when it's going to be your last play. I never knew it was going to be my last play going into that football season. Like, just go full speed, max effort whenever you can, every single play, because you really don't know when it's going to come to an end. You're going to regret it later. So just go full speed no matter what.
And when you do have that first game back, I imagine it's going to be even more special.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to be back.
Anything else, Jeff?
Nope, we're not going to give any new dates of when he's coming back. We'll let any of the Marywood coaches listening, they can make their best guess.
You can all start their pools.
Yeah.
Quincy Fender, thank you very much. I know it's been quite a roller coaster ride the last few months, but we're looking forward to seeing you back on the court very, very soon. And thanks for coming in, and have a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you for having me, Chad.
Yeah, absolutely. Quincy Fender from Newman Catholic High School. We'll come back. We're going to talk. We're going to go into Jeff's favorite part of the show.
Hockey.
We're going to talk.
There's more sports than basketball?
Yes, there is.
Okay.
So we're going to do that coming up. Again, the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction, a family-owned and operated custom builder in central Wisconsin that stands out from the rest for its commitment to quality and excellence. From design and planning to final construction, K5 Construction delivers superior results on every project. Check them out online, buildwithk5.com. That's buildwithk5.com. More to come here on 98.9 WXCO.
Boys basketball opening night, plus some additional wrap-up from the football season. I'm Travis Wilson, and this is a WisSports.net Minute, brought to you by Just a Game Fieldhouse in Wisconsin Dells. More high school sports news after this. You may have heard of Just a Game Fieldhouse in Wisconsin Dells, one of the country's premier destinations for youth sports and events, but did you know that Just a Game does so much more? Just a Game also delivers end-to-end apparel, equipment, and event solutions. With their state-of-the-art screen printing and embroidery facility, they can help with branding for your team and business items, including uniforms, apparel, and more. Just a Game also offers digital services that include a cashless digital platform and event live streaming. Just a Game has also added a second brand new facility in Reedsburg. Find more information at justagame.com. Tuesday was the opening night of high school boys basketball action, and already we were treated to some excellent games. How about getting things started with a buzzer beater? Trailing last year's Division 5 state qualifier Almond Bancroft with 2 seconds left, loyal junior Bryce Deegan hit a fallaway jumper to give the Greyhounds a 40-39 victory. Houstonford scored an opening 57-47 win over Rio as senior Caleb Poplinski went for 29 points and 20 rebounds. Just a few days after a huge performance in Racine St. Catherine's football state title, junior Lamont Hamilton helped the Angels basketball team to a 68-54 victory against Burlington, scoring 39 points. As we put a bow on the football season completed last week, let's take a look at a few more award winners. Jared Schultz of Northwood Solon Springs was announced as the WisSports.net 8-player football offensive player of the year. He led 8-player in rushing with 2,105 yards to go with 35 touchdowns plus 28 two-point conversions, a new state record. He also threw for more than 1,500 yards with 21 touchdown passes. On the other side of the ball, Clayton's Alex Schradel was selected as the WSN 8-player football defensive player of the year. The state's best lineman, he had 102 tackles, 19 tackles for loss, and 10 sacks this season. This has been a WisSports.net Minute. Check us out online at WisSports.net.
We are the NFHS. That stands for the National Federation of State High School Associations. But really, what we stand for, together with the WIAA, are the 178,000 high school sports students in Wisconsin. And so we stand. We stand for the runners, soccer and basketball players. We stand for their coaches, administrators, and officials. We stand for the swimmers, football players, and wrestlers. We stand for the golfers, softball, and volleyball players. We stand as the national leader and advocate for high school athletics and all who participate in them and make them possible. Because it is our purpose to ensure that high school students get to play, perform, and compete together. To learn more about who we are and what we stand for, visit nfhs.org.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction here on 98.9 WXCO. Online at WXCO.FM, mobile devices, and Alexa by searching WXCO, and on the Civic Media app. Again, this is the first full show for you, and our first opportunity to get both our student athlete guest and our coach guest. And I got to say, I mean, really, I keep saying it. I shouldn't be so surprised, but I mean, we get people that are really good about communicating, what their lives are when it comes to high school sports, whether it's a coach or a player. And I just think that I love that part of the show. I think I speak for a lot of folks who get a little window into maybe a different aspect than maybe you normally would get. And I think that's very, very good to see, because we see a lot of the box scores and we talk about the numbers, but then to have a real discussion with a coach or a student athlete, I think this is, again, my favorite part of the program.
I just think, I agree. 100% my favorite part. I look forward to that every week because it's so neat the way in their descriptions and the answers to the questions and what they're able to share, that they can paint that picture of what the program is. And it makes you feel like you're part of it, makes you feel like you got an understanding of it versus just what you see on a piece of paper or hear from somebody else secondhand. I think it's really cool what the coaches and players and puts everybody back in that same community of basketball. It just kind of knocks it down to the basics, and we get to talk about it. And I think they do a wonderful job of giving us insights into how they see things, and it's a good way for high school athletics to be portrayed.
Tonight we had guests that were both on the hardwood. We had a girls basketball coach. We had a boys basketball player. I do promise you hockey folks out there, we're going to get hockey coaches on, and we're going to get hockey players on, because we want to really test Jeff and his interviewing skills. But the thing about it is, especially with the coaches and with the student athletes as well, there's so many universals to it. I mean, it may be a different sports, but I think a lot of the same challenges occur, whether you're a coach of basketball or hockey. It's just, we don't tend to get a lot into the X's and O's anyways.
Well, first off, I'm a little disappointed because this sounds like a hockky shout out, and I thought we weren't having any shout outs on this program. But
that is not a shout out. That's a promise.
I think the philosophical stuff, though, of how coaches and players do things, see things, what they're trying to accomplish, no matter what sport it is, that's cross-categorical, and what they're trying to attain, what they wanted in terms of their successes, so that those careers take on that meaning and take on that life where it's of value to the communities involved. So I think, whether it's hockey or basketball, it doesn't matter. There's neat things happening out there, and especially right in our community, and why we should value and go watch these athletes and coaches play their games.
All right, it's time to jump into the
rink. I'm ready.
The frozen water here of ice hockey. And again, last night, were you tuned in last night for me doing the Central Wisconsin Storm?
I listened to some of it, but my focus level isn't as good as it should be. I'll say it that way. But I did listen to some of it. Go for it.
How did it sound?
Sounds good.
Okay.
It paints a picture as if I'm watching it in the stands.
That's what I want to hear. I mean, because obviously...
Do I know the difference between icing and some other slang you might use? No, but it's all good to me.
Well, we will sit down and I will go over all that soon enough. But last night I was down in Stevens Point Ice Hawks Arena as the defending state champion. The Central Wisconsin Storm started off their 2024-2025 season against the Wisconsin Valley Union. Again, Wisconsin Valley Union is a team that's going to be much better this year, and they showed it last night. But in the end, the Storm able to score 3 times in the second period, 2 more in the third, and defeat Wisconsin Valley Union by a score of 5-1. Jaden Yurkovsky had 2 goals. Ava Whitmore, Malia Baregi, and Gabby Heiser also scored goals for the Storm. 18 saves for freshman goalie Camille Flor. And one of the things about Central Wisconsin is last season, really an outstanding team. That was a well-deserved state championship. And I think they had arguably the 2 best goaltenders in the state. And it's like, and the problem is you can only play 1 goaltender at a time. But they had, I thought, the 2 best goalies, one a freshman, one a junior. So the idea was, holy cow, may have to go through the same grouping this year and try to figure out how to keep everybody happy to a certain extent. But in the state championship game, Claire Kalmus suffered a concussion in the final seconds. It was such a cheap shot. I mean, it was just a bad play, and a girl took a run at her and she got concussed, and it's been a bit of an issue. She's still been involved in sports, but at the same time, there's always that worry again when you have a concussion that if it happens again. And in hockey, compared to what she does in the fall in volleyball and then in the spring in softball, there's more of a risk involved. And ultimately, right before the season, Claire, who is has received a Division I scholarship to play softball at the University of Wisconsin starting next school year, ultimately decided that after talking to the doctors, it was not worth the risk to play hockey. So that's obviously a big loss. And Ilse Brunner, who is the freshman goaltender from last season, just an outstanding goaltender, but she had already decided, I think, fear maybe, again, this speculation that, may not get the number of opportunities that she wanted this season, with Claire still being a senior especially, and leading the team to the state championship last year. She's playing U16 hockey down in Chicago. So she had left already. So then, in the end, neither are back. So you never can plan it out. And I'm talking to Coach Jana Wimmer before the game. It's like, goalies. I mean, last season she had to try to, again, when you have two talented players, you want to give them opportunities. And I thought she did a wonderful job of that last year. So this year, Central Wisconsin has two freshmen, no experience, and early in the season, it sounds like she's going to alternate her goaltenders and see how it plays out. But the freshman Camille Floor was, I thought, very good last night, and they have 6 of their top 7 scorers back, a couple of their top defensemen. So while they've lost their top scorer from last season, they lost their 2 goaltenders. They lost an all-conference, an all-state first-team defenseman. Those are big losses, but yet they still have a lot back, and I think they're still going to be very, very competitive when it comes to trying to add to the 5 trophies they already have for state championships in their case. So, and if you're a girls hockey fan, you want to see the Storm for the first time, they're hosting their Gobbler Cup, which they hold every year in Mosinee, Thanksgiving weekend Friday. And it's a really good tournament. Got some really good opponents. Got University School of Milwaukee taking on the Storm at 5 o'clock on Friday in the Gobbler Cup semifinals. The other game at 3 o'clock has Hayward, a team that's in the Storm sectional, who was outstanding last season as well. Storm beat them in the playoffs, but they're expected to be exceptionally good this year, maybe one of the top teams in the state, and they will take on Eau Claire area the first game at 3. So a couple of semifinals and then the consolation and championship games coming up on Saturday. But again, it's the consistency of the program, and obviously it's a little different in girls hockey because there's all these co-ops, but at the same time that does not guarantee success. I mean, there's I think only one standalone school in girls hockey, so they're all co-ops. So again, it's not just being a co-op that's led to success, but it's also been a lot of the skill with this Central Wisconsin team.
Well, and I think the neat thing is, same expectations, new players to work with. Kids jump up, kids mature from one year to the next. It sounds like from the lineup that you're describing that some of that offensive firepower they're going to have, a couple key defensive cogs that are back.
Yeah,
they're going to take the pressure off that goalie so they can learn those roles and figure it out. And I've listened to you talk hockey over the years and describe, and there's some young players that jump in right away in the mix.
Yes.
Especially in girls hockey that I hear where it doesn't happen in other sports as fast. It has to be a really unique situation to get started that early, and it seems like there's opportunities within the sport for that to happen. And at the end of the day, there's tradition there. There's an expectation there that these players are going to come in, and that youthfulness will die off real quick because they're going to be able to want to be part of something special and continue to keep that tradition going. And I think that transpires into some to the success that they have, to the hockey success you're going to see out of that team this year. That's just going to continue to carry on.
And one of the mottos for the Central Wisconsin Storm is pressure is privilege.
Yeah.
That when there's expectations, there's pressure, but that's a good thing because there's something to play for, and you know that. I mean, when there's the most excitement is when the most pressure's on. I mean, it's like you've been in big games and such. You want that pressure, and they thrive on that pressure.
Yeah, you don't want those easy games. Nobody wants that easy game. If you're a true competitor, you're thriving in the most difficult situation that's full of stress and having fun doing it. That's what you want to see out of athletes, players, coaches, all that stuff.
On the boys' side, a couple of area teams, Wisconsin Valley Conference teams, got off to very good starts last night. DC Everest over at Greenheck Fieldhouse defeated Northern Pines 3-0. It was a game where Pines actually outshot DC Everest 36-25, but goaltender Griffin Bunnell, he's got experience. He's going to be, I think, a major factor in the Wisconsin Valley Conference this season in hockey, because in hockey, when you have a goaltender that is that good, and that, in Griffin Bunnell is that good, DC Everest is going to be a tough out any night of the week. 36-25 Pines, but in the end, Everest scores 3 times and wins 3-0. Great way to start the season if you're a goaltender. 36 shots, 36 saves. Adam McCaig and Aiden Haupt scored second period goals for DCE. Ethan Whitmore added a third period goal as well for the Evergreen, so a good start for Everest, and also a good start for East Merrill United. It's been a program that's had its struggles, but they went out and had a very good start last night. The Blue Jacks defeated the Antigo Red Robins in Antigo by a score of 7-1. Zach Poggle, he's been around that program for a number of years, and his true leader had a hat trick last night for the Blue Jacks. Kanan Yankee had 2 goals as well for EMU, and goaltender Connor Burton was rock solid with 21 saves as well. Stevens Point, the preseason favorite in the WVC, in fact, expected to be one of the better teams in the state of Wisconsin. They fell in a sectional final a year ago. They're trying to get back to the state tournament for the first time in about 16, 17 years. I mean, it's amazing. A program like Stevens Point has not been to state in such a long time, and they started off with a non-conference win 10-0 last night against Ashwaubenon. Grant Molsky had a hat trick for Stevens Point. A couple of other teams from the Wisconsin Valley Conference on the ice last night, starting things off. Marshfield fell in a tight one to Baldwin Woodville by a score of 3-2. Baldwin Woodville led 1-0. Marshfield tied it. Baldwin Woodville led 2-1. Marshfield tied it, and then Baldwin Woodville got the third goal to make it 3-2, and Marshfield could not tie it after that. 27 shots for each team in that game. And Wisconsin Rapids fell to Reedsburg Wisconsin Dells 2-1, despite the fact that Rapids had a 33-16 edge in shots. So obviously Rapids would feel like they got to get that shot percentage up a little bit. Not able to win it despite that 2-1 edge in shots. They lose 2-1 on the scoreboard. Looking ahead, I know that part of your Thanksgiving weekend tradition is listening to me over in Eau Claire, because every year I go to Eau Claire.
I will turn it on. I won't know what's going on, but I'll turn it on. But go ahead.
But we will have Wausau West opening up their season this weekend at the Eau Claire Memorial Meltdown. It's always a fantastic. I was saying earlier to somebody that I don't know how many years this has been going on, but it's always the same 4 teams, and they're all 4 of the top programs in the state perennially. Wausau West will take on Eau Claire Memorial Friday. Superior against 2-time defending state champion Notre Dame Academy in the other semifinal. Friday night's West Memorial game, the second semifinal, we will have live right here on 98.9 WXCO. Starting with the pregame show at 6:20 and the opening face-off at 6:30. The consolation game is on Saturday at 11 a.m., the championship game at 1:30 on Saturday, and whichever game the Warriors are in on Saturday, we will have as well. And then next Tuesday, the conference gets underway for Wausau West. They'll be at Marshfield in the conference opener, so we'll have that one as well. Some other games involving our area teams. East Merrill United will be hitting the road to Beloit for a Thanksgiving tournament. They'll play Beloit Memorial on Friday, and then they'll play a team to be determined on Saturday. So EMU will try to continue their good start, and DC Everest will be back in action on the boys' side in ice hockey, a non-conference game at Lakeland up in Minocqua on Tuesday night. So that's where we stand early on in high school hockey. Anything you want to add?
Yeah. Let me ask you this: when as basketball teams scrimmage before their first game,
yep.
Do hockey teams do that too?
Yes, they do.
Who does West scrimmage?
Wausau West went and played over in Neenah. They had Neenah, Notre Dame Academy, and Stevens Point. So they were all very good opponents.
So do you like the philosophy that West takes on, where you just jump into the mix of it really fast? Because some other teams might take, you could take a different route. Right. You could play some teams
They play hard opponents right away. And I think for a program like Wausau West, it's the way they've done it for forever, as long as I've been around the program.
So it sets a standard of what you want to get off to the right start right away.
And the thing about it is, it doesn't matter if it's early in the season. It doesn't matter if it's during the Christmas time when they go over to the showdown in Titletown. It doesn't matter for their non-conference schedule. All their games are good opponents. They have this philosophy. They do not play a pushover non-conference opponent. I mean, and sometimes they've had years where they've maybe lost one game in conference, and yet their non-conference schedule, they're 500, even below 500, because they play such a tough non-conference schedule. I think this year, Wausau West is in position to, I think, be a challenger again. It's been a little bit of a run where they have not been out of the regionals in a number of years, and they're not used to that.
Right.
And obviously, in the change from two divisions, from one division to two divisions in ice hockey, it used to be where you would have 8 sectionals and made it easier to make it to state. Now they have this super sectional with, just incredible teams. It's just really a loaded sectional that West and Stevens Point and other Valley teams are part of, with Hudson and Chippewa Falls and Eau Claire Memorial. Yeah. Just really, really superior. Really, really tough sectional. So I think Wausau West looks at it, hey, if we're going to find out our weaknesses, we're going to find out starting right away this weekend and then fixing them to try to be playing their best hockey when it gets to playoff time. So
makes sense.
Obviously, yep. And again, different programs have different philosophies. Same as basketball. Sometimes you got to know where your program is, and you have to. And I think as we talked to coaches, and we didn't really talk about it this time. I think being Coach Bullis' first year, we talked about so many other things. We're going to be talking again about how you schedule those non-conference games based on the computer now, because we've heard that a lot, where you want to know exactly what you need to do because you want to have as high a seed as possible when you get there to the playoffs. And I think that's both on the hockey and on the basketball side. But on the hockey side, they don't use the computer. They got it old school. Yep. They still have the meetings. So it's always interesting. But we're going to take a 1-minute break and then look ahead what's happening in basketball. We're going to get a lot more feel for what's going on the boys' side. Talk a little bit about some of the action there, and talk about some of the top girls matchups as well. With Jeff Gress, I'm Chad Holmes. It is the Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction on 98.9 WXCO.
Are you an enthusiastic sports fan? Want to have fun and get in on the action?
Heck, yes. That'd be awesome.
Have great attention to detail? Want to stay active?
Definitely.
Want to give back to the student athletes in your community?
Obviously, yes.
Then you'd make an excellent high school sports official. We need more officials in Wisconsin, because with no high school officials, there are no high school sports. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
A game without a crowd is just a scrimmage. A performance without an audience is just a rehearsal. Without your presence, high school sports and the performing arts aren't possible. Ensure that these essential extracurricular activities continue to enrich the lives of students in Wisconsin. Purchase a ticket to your local high school's game or performance.
This message presented by the WIAA and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
And welcome back. Big High School Sports Show presented by K5 Construction here on 98.9 WXCO. Don't forget that once the show is done, just a few minutes afterwards, you'll be able to tune in as a podcast. If you missed any part of our show, maybe the first hour, we do put it up as a podcast at WXCO.FM. And also, you can get it as a podcast on Spotify and Google and Apple Podcasts as well. You can subscribe to it, so never miss an episode. So there you go. Let's look ahead. Let's start with the boys basketball. I haven't talked a whole bunch about boys because we only had a handful of games last night. But, boy, starting this weekend, we do have a lot of action with tournament action. And it starts off, I think, here in Wausau at the field house with the turkey shoot. Got Wausau West against Northern Pines and Madison East against Newman Catholic. What are your thoughts on that tournament this weekend?
It'll be interesting to see contrasting styles of play from different areas of the state. You got a team coming down from the north, you got the central Wisconsin, you got a team coming up from the south. And have some family members that live down towards the Madison area, and it's a different style of play. I want to see how that contradicts each other, how teams survive off that, how they use their different strategies. I think that's what these tournaments are about. So excited to kind of see that, because we have 2 local teams in there. We have Pines that has some success over the last couple of years in bringing back their 5 starters, and you got a Madison East program that's going to play a little bit different style, a little bit different speed of the ball game. So interesting mix of things to see how teams do in that tournament.
Absolutely. And also a couple of our area teams head over to Eau Claire North, because both DC Everest and Wausau East will be over there on Friday. East will take on Eau Claire North, DC Everest against Superior. Then Saturday, Everest will take on Eau Claire North, and East will take on Superior. And I know that both East and Everest, I think, have pretty good expectations for this year, and that's a couple of good non-conference opponents.
Yeah, for East, it's I like the fact that they're going over with in Everest too, that they're going to see some of the similar teams. And that's going to be a neat atmosphere to see that you're playing against these teams. You get a little bit of gearing maybe towards what the conference is going to be like. But obviously East, after the success they had last year with the expectations of some of the guys they coming back to start off early on against Eau Claire North and Superior, and for Everest, Preby's been there for a long time, and to see how that leadership with their size and depth kind of continues versus the same 2 teams. So I think it's a great idea to go get some games in and get to a different part of the state and go challenge yourself.
And then you got, it's interesting looking at these non-conference games for the Valley. Then Tuesday night, Everest hosts Ashwaubenon. New London comes to Wausau East. Marshfield hosting Appleton East. Of course, Marshfield, I think, a team that exceptionally high expectations. Stevens Point hosting Kimberly. Merrill will be on the road at Newman on Tuesday night, and with Rapids home against Onalaska. Again, it looks like we talked last week about how I think the Wisconsin Valley Conference in boys basketball is as good as it's been in a number of years, and I think the schedule will be some pretty good non-conference tests.
Well, I remember you asked me earlier in the show what you think of that Rapids games means anything. Well, they played Eau Claire North, so now East Everest has a little bit of a measuring stick after they get in there to their game with them over the Thanksgiving break here. But I think for those extra games coming up, we never did it that way because conference play started up so soon at Newman. Right after you got into a turkey shoot, and then bam, you're playing conference teams the next week. Valley does it differently, and I think that's the neat part of the Valley here is they're going to get their feet wet, get to compare each other a little bit against these non-conference teams, and then we talked off air on how we think this is one of the top to bottom strongest year that the Valley's had from one team to the next. So I think it's kind of cool to see that mix, and I think it's going to be a neat war to see when they start playing their conference schedules after they got out of this quick non-conference realm to start the season off.
And Great Northern Conference, Mosinee will be in action. They're hosting a couple of basically another, not really a tournament. They know who's going to be playing, but they take on New London on Friday, and Lakeland will be there as well, taking on Milwaukee Go to My Year in Mosinee. And then Saturday, Go to My Year will take on Mosinee, and Lakeland will meet New London. Obviously, with Lakeland and Mosinee being in the same conference, they don't want to play a tournament. But again, back-to-back, and I'm curious to see what Mosinee has this season. They've had such a good run with the boys' side in recent years.
Yeah, it'll be a good, measuring stick right away to see where your team stands. I think all 5 starters are gone. They got another Stoffel kid back for them, and to kind of see these new faces and what success they want to bring to the area for Mosinee basketball. Lakeland's kind of in the same boat too. I think they hadn't had the same success that Mosinee has in that conference, but they got to replace 4 starters. I believe I read they had a JV team that went undefeated last year to see how those kids jump up. And again, from a coaching standpoint, it's nice to have teams at your conference, whether you're not facing them right way, at least you get some easy scouting out of the way to see them in your own gym. So I think, again, a nice area tournament with and set up the right way where you're not adding extra conference games that don't need to be there yet. Play some people from out of the area.
Absolutely. And then Merriwood South, we mentioned the Newman games coming up at the West Turkey Shoot. You got the Cranberry Classic that goes on, and you got Assumption taking on Columbus on Friday, and then TBD on Saturday. And then, of course, you got some other teams starting to get into action. And, of course, we always have to wait a little bit for Marathon, and they get on the court on Tuesday of next week, hosting Regis. You got Stratford at Neelsville coming up Monday, Auburndale at Colby, as you know the Merriwood South so very well. It's an interesting year because I think we have seen the Merowith South as good as it possibly can get the last number of years, I think, deep-wise. And I think we've seen a little bit of graduation and maybe a little bit more question marks going into this year.
Yeah, it's different set. I mean, they're still got the same coaches. Kids step up from year to year. So it's still going to be a war. It's still going to be a tough conference. But a little bit from a spectator's point of view, like who's going to be there? Who's going to stand up and shine? Who's going to get that consistency? And again, you got the tail of what you normally have. Usually Newman and Assumption jump into some tournaments right away. And Edgar, because of the football success, usually they can't, they don't play till December 5th against Rib Lake for their first conference game. And Stratford, same boat with the football stuff. And Auburndale Marathon always wait a little bit till after that break to play their first game. And so it'll be interesting to see. I want to see what Assumption is with going against Columbus Catholic right away at their own gym. I think that'll be a battle. And I think Newman looking to find what they want to obviously take a step up this year, as Quincy stated, and looking to find what they are early on without his presence on the court. I think you got some measuring things, but yet you have to have some patience also because you're not at full strength.
And frankly, it's a really tough start. I mean, we look at Newman, we got Madison East, and then potentially either Wausau West or Northern Pines, and then another Valley team coming in on Tuesday with Merrill.
But I don't think, getting out and playing these games and seeing what you're made of and getting to play a different style ball. Like I said, I saw Madison East. It's going to be a foot race. They want to run unless their coach totally changes them. And up here, things aren't always totally that quick. It's a little more methodical in the way the styles that are played. So it'll be interesting to see that contradiction in how they play offense, defense.
By the way, do you have any idea how Columbus is going to be this year after their state championship last year?
Well, they lost those guys. All three of them made the All-Star game. Those three guys, I think all three of those guys were all state and I think they were all I think they might have all tied for players of the year in the conference too. So obviously Coach Joe's kid was in there, and then there was two others. Their names I lose right now, but Coach Joe has his other son who was a freshman or sophomore at the time, stepping up as a junior.
9 seniors last year.
So, but they started off well again in their first game with a good win against against Rib Lake. Was that the first game against Rib Lake?
Yeah.
So they had a good win to see.
2-point win.
Yeah.
I mean, for a young team, and I think the game was played in that little gym at Rib Lake too, which is never fun.
They're not going to be are they the same caliber of the state team? We don't know that, probably not, but there's still not going to be any team to take in as a team you're just going to push over. They play their style of ball. They live around that 3-point line, and that changes things in the course of a game when you got a team that's hitting threes or not hitting threes.
Mark Miller has them 4th in the Clover Belt East.
We'll see.
Interesting note there. Loyal, he's picked first in Loyal, which is amazing stat, real fast. The last Clover Belt championship for Loyal came during the 1967-1968 season.
They beat Almond Bancroft on a buzzer beater 40-39 last night. So,
really?
Yep. Positive on that one because I read it online today. But they're starting off. Almond Bancroft's a solid program.
Yeah,
they got some good kids back. That's a nice win for them.
Northern Lutheran. Do you know anything about Northern Lutheran? Because they play on Monday against Spencer. I can't say I really do know about Northern Lutheran. I'm just hoping that they play consistently this year because it's always felt like there's been gaps in their schedule.
Yeah, well, that and you'll see again. Are they going to have the same telltale signs where they're kind of hopping around? Non-conference, out of the conference gets pretty tough. They go back into the home and be inside the conference, and they can find some success. They definitely return a couple guys, 2 guys that averaged 13 points per game from last year, so hopefully that leads them to be a little bit more competitive in their non-conference schedule.
And CWC East Wittenberg-Burnham would play Menominee Indian coming up on Monday, so not playing on the weekend, and we'll see. Whitburn always fighting in that conference.
Yeah, and I think they have a couple guys returning, and obviously the Ruknowski kid at 19 points per game, which
Ruknowski.
Yeah, but you got a 20-point score there. That should add something. I think they're predicted to be second in that conference this year, and they start after they get Menominee Indian December 6th. They go right on against St. Mary's Catholic, which is sometimes a good measure because that program's been successful in recent years.
Let's talk about the girls, and we're getting deeper now into the girls because they got that earlier start, obviously. And let me pull up so many notes here. I print out so much stuff here. We talked a little bit with Coach Bullis of Everest. They have a tournament up in Rhinelander coming up. Wausau West is also up there. The Kislow tournament they always have every Thanksgiving weekend. Wausau East going up north to Crandon as well. We got And actually, it's interesting. Everest plays Crandon Saturday, and the East plays Crandon on Monday. But anything stand out on the Valley side for the girls?
I think for the Everest girls, like you said, just still looking to establish their identity. That's what you do with a young team. You keep tweaking things that aren't being done right through game film, through practice. You keep building off the strengths to gain that confidence. She gave us her player breakdown, which was interesting mix between seniors and sophomores. So I think going to Rhinelander's always kind of inching around in that conference. They're always, we talk about Lakeland, Mosinee, but Rhinelander has with that Clark girl the potential to make some noise there, and their coach, her dad's been the coach there for a while. So I think that'll be a good matchup to see where you stand. And then for West.
The only thing about Rhinelander, they lost to Rice Lake Monday, 78-21.
That's not pretty. I didn't know that score.
But Rice Lake, who knows? I mean,
yeah. So we'll see, and maybe.
And West needs to, I think, play better too.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, and West again versus Rhinelander.
They must play on Friday. I don't have.
Yeah, I don't have that team either because I have the November. So again, I like it when you don't see each other in the conference, but you're in the same tournament to kind of see where you stand based on how you measured up to each opponent that's similar that you're going to play there.
Let's talk about the girls' game of the week, I think, from the Great Northern Conference. Mosinee at Lakeland on Tuesday. And I think we probably had the same discussion a year ago because I think going into the year it was, again, Lakeland and Mosinee. And I think they played each other in the first conference game. That obviously means in the second matchup, it comes sometime in January. So, these are... By the time you get just past the midway point, I think you have a pretty good idea who's going to win that conference because these are the top two teams.
Yeah, and I think I don't know. I just think Lakeland has the edge because
the size.
Yeah, and the non-conference schedule they're going. It's not that Mosinee's not playing a good non-conference schedule, but Lakeland will go grab D1 teams. Mosinee kind of hangs in their division yet when they're still playing Shawano and New London and those teams, which is not bad competition. But you jump a little bit on that division, and I think it makes a difference. And Lakeland's just had a little, they've owned that conference a little bit more lately, and they've had a little more success, and I think they pride themselves on that. So maybe a little extra edge, but still going to come down to a rivalry. Kids are still going to, and coaches are still going to know it's hand that it's for the conference. So
Merriwood South, there's a makeup conference game because the Edgar Marathon game was originally scheduled to be played earlier, but it was postponed due to the state championship football game for Edgar. So Monday night I'll be in Marathon for the broadcast of Edgar at Marathon, and then also in the Merriwood South a number of non-conference games. But I'm curious to see if Marathon is able to continue to take those steps forward because I do think this is a much better basketball team this year, and I think they're going to surprise a team or two.
Yeah, and over Thanksgiving, here's the old everybody played a couple games, and now we're going to lay low and do it probably, do have a handful of practices and get ready for, our December schedule. And, I'm interested to see, can Marathon creep in there? That score against Stratford's promising. I think, Stratford has some height, has some scoring ability out of the girls that are on their team, so that's a nice job of kind of hang over at their gym, hanging around, losing by 10. And then I want to see if Auburndale can challenge Assumption in any way. That December 10th game coming up, I think, is a big deal. And then to see, Newman, Edgar, can we keep refining things? We're not, our scores aren't coming out the way we want, but are we getting in better? Are things getting closer? Are we making the most of the moments that we can kind of control the best and have some success on it?
And finally, CWC East, I think the game to keep an eye on is Tuesday, Wittenberg-Burnhamwood at Manawa. You got Manawa 2-1 early, Wittenberg-Burnhamwood 2-0.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.